Hello, and welcome to another episode of the podcast where we will reassure you that football is fixable. Alright, I'm back, chaps.
Welcome back.
I heard last week's episode, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
And
what do you think?
Content-wise, it was alright. You were too nice.
You were to each other?
Yeah, it was too nice.
But that's just the way we are.
There wasn't enough anger, emotion,
Also,
passion.
No, Dan and I are nice people. That's how it goes.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Well, also though, Cess, I mean, he was always never gonna like an episode without his voice in it quite as much
That is so
as
true.
listening to the regular episode.
Yeah.
If IMDb is gonna, give us scores, then that would definitely get a lower score.
Will it? I think it had more content because there was just none of that fluff. You know? There's all these baggage, James.
Baggage. It was the baggage that I bring.
It was also really nice to be able to get to the end of a sentence without being interrupted.
Anyway, moving on.
Luxury.
So that is very true, actually, Dan. I let you speak, didn't I? Yeah, that's a good point.
It was just something.
It was joyous.
You know that sort of extra bit of like the stardust. It's just missing that extra.
Was it?
You can't put your finger on it.
Was it? No, I think it was, actually. Who did you think won the debate or had the worst team?
Well, yeah, because I was trying to, because we've spoken about this off air, haven't we? Off recording, off whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And I've sort of had a thought about, because I've heard Dan ranting in one ear and I've had you ranting in my other ear, and and it's just kind of like both clubs are really, really badly run.
I would be stunned if you said anything other than United, considering your absolute detest for my football.
That is true, yeah. I would have thought immediately you'd say United, just out of the hatred of United.
That's the thing. So I think I've gone into the episode with, in my mind, actually thinking United are slightly worse run. But Everton are a very close second. I've got to say that they're very close.
Yeah, I think the only reason, I mean, I said at the end, I kind of conceded to United because we've got hope. We've got a new manager. We've got a new owner. So there's possibility, whereas, like Dan said in the episode, he's still stuck with the Glazers.
Yeah, that's a bigger problem, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
more long-term issue, cultural kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, good news on United, though. So they recently won their 6-pointer against Southampton.
Yeah, that's true. That was immediate.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that Dan said that, didn't he? That it's crucial in the relegation
Just
fight.
I think they'll stay
taking
out,
my joke about myself, making fun of myself, and using it to make fun.
It's what
me.
James
It's
does.
so
Yeah,
annoying.
yeah.
I had it written down. I was in my notes for the episode, and then Dan goes and texts it. And it's going to seem like it was his idea.
Yeah, all along. Yeah,
It was a 6-pointer. I've been before the game. I was thinking, this is a 6-pointer coming up, and and then Dan goes and takes my fire.
Yeah, it was brilliant joke, Dan. I think. Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
But congratulations.
I appreciate it.
So you two are still close down there, though, aren't they? All the way down there, down in that part of the table. What are you, like 17th, 16th or something?
We're 16th. Thank you very much.
16th.
Yes.
United.
And we are
recording. What are you, Dan?
12th.
12th.
We
you
are
moved
12th.
up for a while.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all.
And you're up in your ivory tower of second place. So congratulations.
I can't even see you. You're up in the clouds. You just disappeared out of sight. Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, that's good to know.
It's actually quite nice for us, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a bit quieter. We can actually talk.
And finish each other's sentences or whatever it is.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
without having to
lovely.
hear about Dennis Bergkamp,
I haven't mentioned him for at least 10 minutes.
Yeah, you made me watch a video on Dennis Bergkamp while wearing a Bergkamp t-shirt.
That's so bad.
This is fantastic.
Sorry to everyone.
I'm sorry.
Right.
I've just reimagined this ivory tower that I put James in, and it's just a single tower like Rapunzel, but at the very top is just a bedroom filled with Arsenal memorabilia.
Yeah.
And a small statue of Dennis Bergkamp.
Yeah, just a merchandise catalogue.
A
Yeah.
small statue?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Arsenal bed sheets.
Oh, Arsenal. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with Arsenal pyjamas. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever had
100%.
Arsenal bed sheets. I'm not.
Yes, you did.
Did I?
went to your house when we were kids.
You must have done.
Yeah, and I can see behind you an Arsenal logo there. That's jogging bottoms or something.
Right,
Yeah.
so in today's
And an
episode...
Arsenal mug, there is. Yeah, Arsenal clock. Yeah.
So in today's...
Seth is the man on the inside.
This is the studio I have to work in. It's just Arsenal everywhere.
That's the best studio. What else can I say?
Yeah.
Our studio manager decided the decor. Right, in today's episode then, talking about great clubs, we're going to be looking at the kind of privilege and the entitlement of the big clubs, aren't we, guys?
Yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about Arsenal, really, actually.
Right,
Yeah.
so I know
Yeah, this was inspired of your level of entitlement shown for not being a part of our episode last week.
Yeah,
'cause
that's
you're too
true.
good for us.
Yeah, that's very entitled of you. Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
I just
You know,
had
he
more
was too
important
busy in
things
his
to
ivory
do.
tower that week, polishing his many statues of Dennis Bergkamp.
I don't think James would have been allowed in our. We were like in the
your love
mines,
nest.
weren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in the mines having ales and pasties, but James wouldn't have wanted to come down because he would have got his suit all dirty. You know?
He would, or if he'd have come along, he would have come in a COVID mask.
Yeah,
Don't come too close to me, okay?
No,
that's true. Yeah, wearing gloves.
Doesn't want to pick up on the germs.
Yeah.
You know?
This episode also is coming off of the back of the Arsenal-Everton game. We can't forget that one because that was a few weeks ago now, where it was 0-0. And you remember, Dan, James was just having a rant on our WhatsApp group.
I was furious. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. There's the sheer
I thought we'd
privilege.
gone back in time to that United game where they stopped Arsenal's unbeaten run. It felt like that level of anger.
Yeah, he would just go on about it.
Our chat is just... Well, I'm trying to educate you both. But the point is, so that's what gave you the idea of this episode, actually, wasn't it? About the entitled fans and things like that. Fix the entitlement, not just in fans, but in football in general. Everything linked to football. And we're going to talk about all kinds of things. So the issue is apparently that some parts of football has this entitlement attached to it.
Apparently, because the people in privilege don't see it.
Right. So Cesc believes. Let me get back into it and let me explain why Everton are a disgrace. So
let's let the privileged guy explain to the lower down guys.
So Arsenal playing Everton. Obviously, we're fighting for the league. We're hitting a bad patch. We've had injuries and things like that. And we dominate the game against Everton, as you might expect. Everton obviously in a bad moment themselves at the Emirates, and they don't even try to attack. We've recently played teams in the Carabao Cup, Bolton. We've played, from this all kinds of teams up and down the league, and some of them do play defensive football, right? Even the Forest, Nottingham Forest, and the Villas, and they play defensive football, and they sit back, but they wait for their moment to then counter. So it's counter-attacking football.
Yeah.
Everton had no real ambition to really push out. I'd love to see the heat map for the game, so that you just sort of sat in a deep, low, what's lower than a low block? Because you were in that.
We took defending to another level, I would say. Yeah.
And it was just hoofing it clear. Yeah. Like a training game. You hear like the pundits talk about the training games and stuff. About
it was Sunday League,
defense.
effectively. Yeah.
And it was just... but this is Premier League football. That was the bit which really infuriated me. It's not like, okay, you can say it's biased, I'm an Arsenal fan, but it's Premier League football we're talking about. This is meant to be... We boast the best league in the world. Some people might have different views of that, but generally speaking, it's the most watched league in the world and that kind of stuff. And I thought that was... what's the opposite to an advert for the Premier League? Because that was the opposite.
Yeah. There's something that puts you off of the Premier League.
Yeah, a deterrent.
A deterrent. Okay, so this is why when we were having that conversation on WhatsApp, I was saying that it's the entitled view of an entitled person, a privileged person, because as an Everton fan, I was happy for us to get a point against a title challenger. We were playing against a team that it's one of the strongest teams in Europe. I think are you third in the Champions League?
I think we might have been second or third, yeah.
Yeah, so you're up there, and you're up there with in the Premier League as well. We are fighting for our survival. So it's not a matter of playing well, playing beautifully. If you ask any Burnley fan from last season, did you like the way you went down? They'll go, no, we'd prefer to have changed, what we were doing wasn't working. We would have preferred not to play beautifully in order to get points. And it's exactly the same with us. There's a lot of entitled Everton fans, actually, after Deitch left, and they were saying, I'm glad Deitch has gone. The football was really boring and all that stuff. That's quite entitled, because actually he did a lot for us. He saved us in areas where other managers didn't, or probably couldn't as well. And I've always said that he's a very limited manager.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
Yeah, we have strikers that can't score anyway, and Deitch doesn't really know how to attack. So even if he had good strikers, he'd probably struggle on that end. However, he's very good at the defence side, and we were going through probably the worst run of fixtures I've ever seen in a 6 weeks fixture. we were going to play Liverpool, and then we had Arsenal, Chelsea, Man City, United, Villa, Spurs, Nottingham Forest.
Well, this is the thing. So I am not saying you should be doing what Burnley did. I think last season because that was our first season of the pod, wasn't it? And we were talking about Burnley. Why aren't they changing what they're doing? You need to adapt in games. I absolutely get that. For certain teams, for the entire 90 minutes is ridiculous in a Premier League game. At least try to counter. Imagine if you got 3 points. That could be massive if you pinched it from a corner.
That would be nice, yeah.
Bolton managed to do that against us back in the day. That was back in, the 20 years ago, whatever it was. Bolton used to play
Allardyce era.
Stoke used to do it, as Coops reminds me every time I see him. It's something that if you can have
sometimes...
I'll be quiet, Dan. So... it's having that defensive solidity, but then that threat from, even if you try and get up the other end on a counter and get a corner or something like that, and then you've always got the chance. Fans have paid money, the Everton fans have paid money to come down to London to watch their team against Arsenal, and they've just sat there and watched in one sort of 18-yard box area pretty much for the whole game.
Yeah, but you're seeing it as something...
As an Everton fan, you should... Jesus. As an Everton...
You know your place, be quiet.
Jesus.
No, carry on, Dad.
Thank you. Jesus. The entitlement's rubbing off on you.
This newcomer, he expects to be on our level.
Yeah. Yeah, you say, like James, you say like, all these Everton fans have gone to watch the game, but imagine being an Everton fan and getting a point to Arsenal. Like, they love it.
Exactly.
Whether they're going to attack or not, they're going to love that.
That's exactly my point.
And also, like, it's not always a case of, you've got a chance, have a go. Sometimes the reality of the restrictions that you have in your team, you have to work with. Now, Arsenal have one of the best defences in the league, possibly the best. Your back four is so strong, and Everton have quite possibly one of the worst attacking threats in the league.
We have strikers that are scared of scoring.
I mean, well, to be fair, so do Arsenal. But,
True,
I'm going to cut down off in a minute.
But my point is, no matter how much you might think, if they'd really willed it and if they'd really tried, they could have got something. I actually don't think that's possible, and I think the best they could have got was a draw. And for Everton fans to go there and see their team defending for their lives, that is still something that is entertaining for a team to watch.
Entertaining result.
Hold on until the end. Is an entertaining thing to watch.
If you're in League 2, it felt like a FA Cup match. When you play like a non-league team or something like that.
So are you saying then, if we did that against Arsenal, say we attacked more and we tried to win the game, then are you saying that we should have also done that against City, against Chelsea, against United? Tottenham,
in moments.
Villa.
So I'm not saying for the whole game go all out attack or anything like that. I'm still saying defend and be sensible. But then when the opportunities arise, try and get up front. Now maybe I'm not giving Arsenal enough credit. I don't normally do that. So
really,
Arsenal might have actually made it so Everton couldn't get out. Maybe they wanted to get out and Arsenal just pressed really well. We did that against Spurs the other day as well in the North London derby. They could hardly get out, and Big Ange was his usual. Oh mate, that kind of thing.
Was that your Ange? Was it?
That was Big Ange, yeah.
Oh.
That was. You inserted that soundbite there, yeah?
Yeah. So that's exactly what I did.
Yes. So in terms of our press is one of the best in the world, and I love that.
Yeah.
But I just Sean Dyche, I get what you're saying. You're saying he's a limited manager. He's very defensively. You know what you're getting. Does what it says in the tin. Kind of thing, doesn't it?
Is that your Ange?
Can you put that at Big Ange? Stop putting that soundbite in. You know what you're getting with. How do you say his name?
Sean Dyche.
That one.
Yeah.
So he's going to shore up the defence and make it you're hard to beat.
Yeah.
But then you've got Calvert-Lewin, who a few years ago proved that he could score. He just needs a bit of service.
In the same way that Marcus Rashford proved he could score, that he had half a season of a purple patch, and he's lived off that reputation. And that was like 4 years ago. Yeah,
I get that. But that was under Duncan Ferguson, wasn't it? But the style of play was get it down the wings, get balls into the box. It wasn't complicated football. It was almost Sunday League football. But it gives him a chance. In this Everton side, he barely gets a sniff of anything. The ball doesn't really come to him. He's just there as a defensive wall, to be honest, to try and slow the team down before they get to your midfield, and then your deeper lying midfield, and then your front line of your defence, and then your back line of your defence.
Yeah, exactly. We got 4 layers of defence. So what?
So it was just what I'm saying is that this is the Premier League. It was just
that's the entitlement. So just because it's the Premier League, there's this idea that we should go out and win and be pretty doing it. But the thing is, because it's the Premier League, money is so important. You can't afford to go down to the Championship, which means you can't afford to just waste away a possible draw and a possible point just for the hope to win. For us, we were going through that 6 weeks where we were playing basically 8 of the best teams in our league, and if we tried to play out against you, we would have to try that against all the other teams, and then we would lose against all of them. But we drew against Arsenal, we drew against City, and we drew against who else was it? Chelsea.
Yeah, you did. So
and that is a part of the Premier League's appeal, isn't it?
It is.
Just because they're not attacking, just because they're not looking like they're going to score, doesn't mean they're not a Premier League team. The fact that Arsenal and City both dropped points to a team struggling for relegation, that is the Premier League.
That's exactly that. That's
although
the
Everton weren't competing although Everton weren't competing going forward, perhaps they were competing defensively. If they weren't competing, and if they weren't good enough and a good advert for the Premier League, Arsenal would have just walked past them, just like most Spanish teams get walked past by Barcelona and Real Madrid.
Yeah, that's very well put there. Yeah.
Listen
it's
to you
a good advert for the Premier League.
No, Dan's making a lot of sense, James.
Can I say, listen to you two? I've been away 1 week, and you two are holding each other's hands through this. I sense that
I can't help it.
I'm the third wheel
sense
here.
Well, this is a topic close to me because obviously, as a Manchester United fan, I'm very much used to the level of entitlement. I used to enjoy it.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy the.
I haven't
the
got
ivory
round to you
tower.
yet. You
and,
wait.
My ivory tower has been, well, for want of a better word,
it's been too late for a while now, hasn't
you
it?
see.
Eroded.
You know the demolition videos you see where they just fill it with explosives and they just crumble in on themselves. that is Manchester United.
Yeah, the way I imagine
I am now
Yeah.
in the smoke and rubble
on
the ground.
The way
floor
I
with
see
you,
it
Seth.
is that Dan and James were basically eating caviar with your many knives and forks up in the top
on the
deck.
Titanic.
Yeah. And now Dan has found, he's gone, oh, what's that music coming down the stairs? And he goes down the stairs and
He's fallen
descending.
down the stairs, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's absolutely stumbled his way all the way down to the bottom deck, and he realised that us lot on the bottom deck, dancing on the tables and stuff, we're having fun. Sure, we might have cholera and we've got very little food to eat, but we're having a lot of fun,
That's what it is, isn't it? You two are now lowered down to that level. So I'm looking down at you two being all chummy. I'm the third wheel on this podcast now. I'm apparently the privileged one. Dan, it's like historic privilege. What was it you said off air? Was it historic privilege or something that Dan has?
Something like that. Historic privilege, and you're the currently privileged.
Right.
Yeah.
Just because I'm where I belong. Look, I know my place.
I'm where I belong.
You down there, I look down at you two, okay?
Yeah, I've got to say, though, whatever you might say about Everton's style or anything, try and score with Calvert-Lewin and Beto as your strikers.
Calvert-Lewin was an England international.
So what? You have him then?
No.
You take him. We'll give him to you for free. You can have him.
No.
You need a striker.
We do need a striker, but no, I don't want
I was going to say, for Arsenal to turn down a striker, he's not good.
Exactly.
So, is it moving on to you, Dan? It's your turn to feel my wrath now.
Do we have to?
So, recently you knocked us out of the FA Cup. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Did you plan on doing any attacking during that game? You didn't really do much for the mighty Man United. How far you've
Dan,
fallen?
because you are in charge of Man United, by the way.
You're in the United clan. You're our close connection.
We did score against you, didn't we? And if it wasn't for an insane amount of cheating, I think it wouldn't maybe have been quite as tight as it was.
Yeah, which is rare, actually. This season, Arsenal just wants to cheat, really, don't they?
They love the dark arts this year, don't they?
They really do, yeah.
I like it's. It's getting them places. They're still competing in the league and everything.
Cheating pays off, really, doesn't it?
So but not this time. So yeah,
yeah.
Get a room, you two.
He doesn't like it when Wayne Rooney does it to break Arsenal's record.
No, to be fair to James, he was outraged at Havertz diving.
That's
wasn't he,
true.
The other day, so
I'm not a fan of it at all. I hate it. if I'm honest. And it's and let's be honest,
yes.
every team have players that are doing this, and it's to be honest, almost every player. It's very few. It seems like it's few and far between to find these, honest players who wouldn't go down.
Yeah.
So it's a shame. We've had various topics in the past, haven't we, where we've talked about how football's changed and stuff. And I'm sure we'll do it again in future episodes too. But congratulations, United. I thought one thing you did show is a lot of character. As
100%.
You guys, you did defend, but you did find moments to attack, and when you went down to 10 men as well, I kind of understand it. At least you didn't just sit in your own 18-yard box.
You wouldn't be saying that about the Arsenal-Everton game if you had won the game. Then you would probably have gone, Everton probably should have defended, actually. They should have tried to block us out instead of trying to come out and attack.
Privilege in football and entitlement in football.
Yeah.
Do you think it goes beyond that as well then? I think
beyond football?
No, it's not beyond fan entitlement in terms of...
I see.
Do you think that big clubs have some sort of advantage? You hear sometimes that refs favour big clubs in terms of they get the decisions. You've heard a lot of clubs at lower Premier League levels, for example, saying we don't get the same...
I'll take this one. Yeah.
Yeah, so have you noticed that, Seth?
Yeah. Can you hand me down the microphone?
Yeah. Hold on. I need a rope.
Yeah, I can take this. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
There's such... this like... Firstly, this entitlement from the big teams to expect... the decisions to go their way. Whenever you hear Klopp used to do it a lot, he always used to complain that the decisions go against him, and then you find out at the end of the season that he's got like more penalties than anyone else. And he's just wanting more. And I always hear that with pretty much any manager out there. The ones that you hear the most complaining about things are the top managers. Arteta at the moment, for example. I mean, he even went as far as to blame the ball, which isn't...
Oh, that was fantastic.
Yeah, it's not
that.
far off from... to be fair to James, actually, he did call out Arteta. We were kind of calling out Arteta. If it wasn't a tactic to try and...
distract from the players, if the players are underperforming or whatever. It might have been
If it wasn't a distraction, then it's a ridiculous thing to say. It's not far from that idiot Ty... from the Arsenal fan page when he blamed the rain for Arsenal losing.
But Robbie did say it's the same for both teams, Robbie's a bit more sensitive.
Robbie called him out.
Yeah.
Arteta saying it though, of all the manager of Arsenal saying it.
Yeah, it did seem a bit like ludicrous.
Yeah, but I do think that there is this entitlement, and I can kind of understand it because you have people like Fergie, for example. He was always kind of accused of having this entitlement and having Fergie time and all this stuff. But I reckon a lot of it is probably to do with the fact that he was there for such a long time that the number of decisions that went his way are just more. But percentage-wise, it probably isn't.
Right, yeah.
I think also, because he's been there for so long, he's got the respect of a lot of people as much as fear. Most people tend to think it's just fear, but I don't think it is. I think a lot of it is general respect. Because outside of football, he was actually quite nice to the referees. He did know them. Whereas, if you imagine a referee looking at Sean Dyche, or maybe even the younger managers, Frank Lampard, for example, versus Fergie, there'd definitely be the respect that Lampard wouldn't have. So I can understand that as well.
It was kind of famously, and I don't know your point of view on it, Dan, about Fergie, because it's been said by several players. I know Arsenal have had that experience, feeling through that, in terms of Fergie seemed to influence the refs in different ways. Refs have come out and said, haven't they, that we were intimidated by Ferguson. What do you think, Dan, in terms of, did you find that, and have you noticed a change now that you've slipped down the ladder into the basement? Have you noticed that you don't get as much privileged and entitled decisions?
Well, we definitely don't get as many decisions as we did, and I think part of that is, I don't know if part of that is because of the decline, and obviously where we're not competing, so the decisions don't mean as much, so we kind of get fobbed off a bit more, or if it's because of historical reputation going before us, and it's like, oh, United always get the penalties, so now it kind of swung the other way.
They're kind of like, not this time.
Consciousness there to say, oh, we better not give it to them because they'll say Man United always get the decisions. And for me personally, I feel like the longer it's gone, where we've got slightly worse and competed less, the less decisions we've been getting. Like some of the decisions that are going against us are ridiculous. Like the De Ligt handball at Liverpool was a joke, like an absolute joke. I no idea how that was.
Well, his arm was raised. It was in a, I don't know, is it the unnatural position? Is that the same? Which doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It just, but if you look at it in real time, it was like it was very literally quick. A millisecond from the point the thing was that the ball was hit, and when it hit his arm, it was like so quick. Like, how could he do anything about it? And he was off balance and everything. So, like, what is he supposed to do in that situation?
But some of that might be down to the rules that obviously we've fixed some in the past.
Well, you say that, but then there was another one
at.
There was another one at Southampton the other day where Ahmad was one-on-one with a Southampton player, and his hand was in an unnatural position at an age to get it out of the way, and he hit the ball with his hand and nothing was given.
Yeah, but it probably wasn't unnatural enough. That's what it was. Yeah.
Like, it's, do you know what I mean? So even though you've got these rules are still subjective, and there still seems to be ways of getting around them, and so it's not as clear cut as you're going to get the decision or not to the letter of the law, because regardless of that, like in terms of the entitlement thing, I want to talk about like how fans are entitled, because as a Man United fan, you get a lot of this, and I'm sure, Sesh, you get it a lot as well, where people say Everton are too big to go down.
Oh.
Right? And and then there's this narrative which continues that Man United they should be challenged. They're a massive club. They should be challenging for everything, and it's just it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they basically rate the team based on the history as opposed to the current state.
Yeah, and all the only reason they do that, they hype up the team like they should be doing this so that they can beat them down when they're not at that level. So we are way off that. We are way, way off that, right? And it really helps their narrative as a storyline for to get people riled up and stuff. They're saying Man United should be at the top, and all these Man United fans that have seen all this success and remember all this success, they go, yeah, we should be. We're Man United. We're amazing. When the reality is we are, as a team, like our team is way off it. I think we're probably about right where we should be in the league. I think we're mid-table, maybe if we were to really get our act together, top 8 kind of a team, but we're nowhere near a top 4, let alone challenging for a title team. That's just not the level we're at.
I completely agree with that, because I think last week I mentioned it, that for some reason people have this idea that Everton are too big a team to go down, which just makes no sense. You just have to look at Newcastle and Villa, Leicester, Nottingham Forest. These are teams that have won big things before. They've been mainstays in the top division, and they've gone down because they always had this idea that they're too big to go down and they're just too naive. And I think that it comes down to entitlement, doesn't it? Yeah, it really does. With your argument, James, about Everton could have come out and tried to win the game and everything.
Offensive and attacked.
We're 1 point from the relegation zone. 1 point.
That's because you don't attack.
We got Calvert-Lewin. You won't even take him for free.
England international. Right. So we feel that there's some sort of privilege and entitlement. So, let's get in and fix it then, shall we, lads?
Yeah, let's do it.
Firstly, then, we're saying that if we agree that there's an entitlement with these big sides against the smaller, you smaller sides, you two, United and Everton, when you come against mighty Arsenal. So how do we fix that then? So how do we fix if you believe that us mighty clubs like Arsenal are privileged against you lowly clubs, United and Everton?
Yeah.
How do we somehow fix that?
I think one thing is that I don't think you guys should be allowed to talk about us, in the gutters. If you guys
all the way down there,
you are basically in the office planning out things. You got maps in front of you. You wear a hard hat because you think that makes you important, but you're mapping things out. But you're telling us in the mines how to do things, but you don't know. We know where the Mithril is.
So right,
yeah,
Lord of the Rings joke. I like
exactly.
100%.
So you guys are like in the trenches, and we're in the kind of strategy room. Is that what we're sort of saying? We're like bossing you guys around.
It kind of.
But occasionally you come down on site to do an inspection.
Yeah.
But you're still in your suit and stuff, and you still have no idea what you're doing.
You're in a suit. But
we don't really like you there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
You got
you go back to your ivory tower.
Yeah, rolled up blueprints under your arm, even though you don't know what they're for. Yeah.
I mean,
100%. Yes.
You shouldn't be allowed, because it's like I said with the whole Everton thing. What we need is not what you want. You wanted us to attack so you could win the game, but that's not what we want or need. We needed to get a point from one of the best teams in the league.
Dan, how do you feel about that fix? Is that something which resonates with you?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think there just needs to be an appreciation from the top teams to what achievement is for the lower teams.
Yeah.
Because a top team, to achieve something, they have to win every game. So achievement for them is winning. And if you don't win, then you have failed, right?
Yeah.
But you can't have the same level of expectation as a team in a relegation battle, because you lose a lot of games. And if your bar is to win every game, you would be so demoralised towards halfway through the season that you would not be able to pick yourself up and continue. You have to have different. But I mean,
the
it's
morale
it's
and
a
everything.
league table for a reason, right?
That's what. Yeah, that's how Burnley went down.
There are different
isn't it?
levels of achievements for different teams.
Yeah.
So there are 20 teams, and all of them are different abilities, and there needs to be an appreciation for the level of capability for the lower teams from the top ones.
Yeah.
And it's something that obviously I didn't understand until we became one of the bottom teams. So
well, I know of us. Yeah, that's true.
Another fix, chaps, that I have is, I mentioned about how the media build up all these teams and they play on the emotions of fans that have previously won things in the past and all of that. There are some media outlets that really make a living off of this, and there's one man in particular for me, and that's Simon Jordan.
I know you've mentioned him a lot.
The man
off air.
The man makes a living through absolutely hammering Man United on a regular basis. Like the amount of I heard, and it's funny because I also saw, I think there was a clip of him once saying about how Man United need to get over themselves and things like that. Well, he needs to get over us, I think. He's honestly he makes a living as a wind-up merchant, and what it does is he gives this story to his listeners, he puts this story out there like Man United are this huge club that should be only achieving the very best, and if they're not doing that, then they're failing, and they're a failure of a club. And all it's doing is really feeding this idea of entitlement to fans, and he uses all his big long words like perpetuating. He loves that word, but he himself is perpetuating this idea that Manchester United are a massive club by getting it out in the airways. And okay, we're a big club, but it doesn't mean we're a successful club. You can be a big club and not be a great football team.
That is true. And but the thing is,
I think
he does clickbait, doesn't he? Basically,
it's too that he's so much.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, you could say that about Simon Jordan. You could say that about clickbait in general. But you've got people like Gary Neville. He keeps on going on about how Man United are a big club and he's expecting so much more and all this stuff. He's become a bit more, I think, more negative as the years have gone by.
Yeah. Maybe more accepting of United's position.
But then that is also entitlement, because he's an ex-player.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's still living in the time where he was there. So his idea of what the club is still in his generation.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ex-Man United players in the media, which massively adds to the problem from a Manchester United perspective. This is more fixing it from a Man United perspective than it is from in general. But when you see players like Rio Ferdinand, Paul Scholes, Gary Neville, Nicky Butt is on a lot now as well. There's a lot of Man United ex-players from that generation of success that just batter United on a regular basis. Rennie Mullenstein, the old coach, and it's because they're used to that level of success that we had, and they're like, well, that's where you should be. Well, no one should be anywhere.
You
achieve things
11
and you
years
earn your place to be there. Exactly.
Almost 12 years ago.
And unfortunately we're nowhere near that now, and it's time to reset expectations and realise where we are, rather than that feeling in that level of entitlement. But a part of that fix, I think, is the message portrayed by the media. I would like media coverage to be more
balanced.
More balanced. Thank you. That's the word. Fantastic.
And less Simon Jordan.
Less Simon Jordan. More balanced and more more based on the actual ability of the players and more reporting from like an actual realistic point of view and giving opinions that are valid rather than just getting all of like it's okay for like clickbait and stuff like that and these places to throw stuff out there because you see a lot of nonsense out there. You're never going to stop that, but people in the real like mainstream sectors, they've got a responsibility not to like throw all this nonsense out there.
Yeah, true.
And it's that message that goes out there that breeds this entitlement from fans.
I didn't think
that spreads over to the players.
I didn't think Simon Jordan would kind of ignite this fire in Dan. It's kind of similar to what Marcus Rashford does to him, isn't it?
There's just these few players that just ruffles his feathers.
Yeah,
there's a special place in my head for those two people.
Yeah.
So whilst we were talking about that, in terms of, I mentioned there was a Guardian article talking about Mike Riley, and then there's a BBC one talking about United back in 2012 and comparing the last 6 years to that point. And in that BBC article, it did give a bit more of a kind of nuanced perspective that actually statistically it's not as one-sided as you might think. So although people have this perspective of the big clubs having this entitled or privileged, they get the benefit of the doubt with decisions and things, actually statistics show that it's not so clear-cut. So among the current English Premier League teams, which have played 50 or more home games since 2006, so over that 6-year period, the statistics supplied by sports data specialist Opta, who we know these days as the Opta AI final league predictor, show that on average, Man United have conceded 1 penalty every 12 home games. This is more than Fulham, who have conceded roughly 1 penalty every 14 games. So when you look at it statistically, it might not always it might not be proven that what people feel, that there is actually this privilege.
Yeah.
And it's going to change season on season. But what I did do whilst you guys were talking there, I asked AI if that feels that there's a bias or a privilege or an entitlement, right? So I asked AI a second ago, and it said that, yes, big teams do seem to get more decisions in their favour. And it put down some reasons for that. It even mentioned things like social media. The referees feel like they don't want to make a big decision against the big sides, because on social media they might worry about the aftermath of it. But also mentioned about the size of the crowd. You might get more intimidating crowds, more larger numbers of fans at games and things like that in the big teams. And it's particularly at home games and things like that. I've just put it in again to a different source, and this AI is saying the referee decisions for a football team can vary depending on the team, the referee, and the circumstances of the game. For example, some data suggests that Liverpool are treated differently from other teams by referees. Arsenal, Opta data shows that Arsenal received more lenient refereeing decisions than other Big Six teams.
Well.
Opta data showed that Man City received the harshest refereeing decisions of Big Six teams.
Oh, wow. So actually, that goes against
So it goes against actually this privileged argument.
Yeah,
I was ready to criticize your use of an AI to kind of argue an emotional subject like bias, but as soon as you mentioned that stat about Arsenal, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it made sense.
Right.
So I think my fix really is actually people not to... I mean, there's a lot of conspiracy theories. Unless you're Mike Riley at Old Trafford, the rest of it does seem to be just conspiracy. There's no real truth behind it.
Stop it.
like the ball being, something that makes you shoot badly or something. Like real conspiracy.
Yeah, flies more, yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't the biggest conspiracy this season actually Arsenal fans saying the referees were against Arsenal? That was a big conspiracy this season.
There was
it?
Recently there has been a bit of press towards that, because Arsenal have had decisions that have never been seen before, most unusual decisions and things. So we had the Declan Rice sending off, which even you admitted was a bit of a crazy situation. The way Veltman...
That was the second yellow thing, right?
Yeah, he got a second yellow. So there's been some crazy decisions. Teams get that. I don't believe in a conspiracy. I don't believe that's the case. And I think one fix is that people need to stop believing that there's some greater power deciding these things, or the refs have a decision they've already made in their minds that they're going to favour one side over the other.
I think that's very true, because the moment you hear that something that you believe is a conspiracy, you should know not to believe in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whenever you hear about like the moon landing conspiracy, in which case,
don't believe it then. Or flat earthers, isn't it? It's the whole flat earther thing. Yeah.
The 9/11 conspiracy, all these things. As soon as you have the word conspiracy added to it, you've got to think, oh no, I better not go down.
Probably not true then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's it. And I've got one other fix as well. And I think, although I am disappointed in Everton in their approach, I have to say it is disappointing. I felt you could have attacked more. I'm not saying just come out, open up, and so we can score. That's not what I'm saying. But in the right moments, in every game of football, really, pretty much every game, momentum shifts, and sometimes you have to drop back. And all that. In that game, that rarely happened. Everton didn't put Arsenal under pressure.
Yeah.
The momentum, they didn't force it to change.
I know what you mean.
So I do stand by part of what I'm saying there, but I think one fix that I have to say is that us greater clubs need to accept
overly privileged clubs.
Yeah. We just have to get on with it. Yeah. It's part of football, isn't it? Well, I think one fix is that fans of Arsenal, United, Liverpool, these great clubs with great histories and stuff, it's a privilege to support those clubs. And although Dan might not feel that right now,
that's true. If you choose to be a glory hunter, you might as well just get on with it. That is true.
Well, now that we've all agreed on that, chaps, I would shake your hand, but I don't want to get dirty. So I think it's time for some fantasy football tips.
That's a good idea.
And with that, I must say, so John might be away for a few weeks. He's going on holiday or whatever he's doing.
Yeah.
So
these part-timers, eh?
Yeah, he's part-timers, yeah. We can't afford him. Let's be honest.
That's true.
We can't afford him. So we've got an avid replacement, though.
Who, let's just say that it'll be a good idea not to listen to him.
Here is James's Juiceless Tips. Juiceless.
What not to do.
James's Juiceless Tips. Normally, we would have John telling us great tips because he's actually third. However, James is going to take over, and we know how badly he's doing. Way down. Basically, he's the Everton now.
Oh, now who's privileged?
That may be true, but you're doing everything badly at the moment. So we are advising you guys not to do what James is doing. Do the opposite.
Well, my advice for you guys, you should definitely do what I've done.
Oh, yeah.
I'll certainly find my way up above you in no time.
Yeah, you'll make up those 150 points or whatever you're behind me.
So recently, actually, so this might be a tip for some people, I'm not acknowledging that, what you just said, is I've wildcarded. So for this coming weekend, when this episode comes out, it'll have just happened. So I've wildcarded for that, and I've brought in some Newcastle players. So that's probably going to be the beginning of their downturn.
Yeah, that's true. Get rid of your Newcastle players, everyone.
Yeah, particularly Isak.
Take them out.
Yeah, he's been in a hot vein of form recently. Everything he touches turns to gold. So I've put him in my team, and he's no doubt going to be falling down now.
Absolutely.
He'll probably get
the same as you did for Haaland, wasn't it? He was in a hot streak, and then you got him, and he stopped scoring.
As soon as I put him in, he got me about 3 points. So that was it. Yeah, in about 7 games.
Literally, no one is safe.
Yeah, so Gordon and Murphy are my other two, so stay clear of those.
I have to get rid of him now.
Excellent. Other than that, I've also brought in Cole Palmer. So
I got Cole Palmer.
So my hope is now, because I haven't had him at all this season.
Yeah.
So now he's going to be.
Take him out now.
Yeah, you better take him out, everyone. And I've also put a couple of. So Nottingham Forest are on a brilliant rise at the moment, aren't they? They're third, I think, are they?
Yeah.
They're sort of competing with Arsenal at the moment. So I've put 3 players from Forest in: Woods, Gibbs-White, and Elanga. So
I've got Woods, so I better take him out now.
Best of luck if you're putting any of those players in. But Trent has been awful recently, hasn't he?
Yeah, that's true.
So I took him out. So he might start picking up his performances now.
Right, get Trent in your team and get rid of all Forest and Newcastle players, everyone.
That is my Juiceless Tips.
Thanks, James, for those very juiceless tips. I'm sure no one will be listening to you. Yeah.
More on that. So in our league, the Football is Fixable Alright Fantasy Football League.
Yes.
League. So we've still got your old buddy Sam, who's top with exactly 1,400 points at top point of recording.
Yeah, he's done all right, hasn't he?
He's still flying, although I've beaten him for points this week.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You'll make up those 250 other points some other time.
It's probably more than that, to be honest. People's Front of Judea is still back up in second, and John, our guru, is down in third, which is why we've demoted him.
Yep.
But if you'd like to join our league, then you can join us on 8B8E1L.
And you'll be backdated for your points. So if you join our league now, you won't start from this week. You'll actually get all your game weeks back, and you'll be ahead of James. I can guarantee you that.
You privileged.
100%.
So you're going to say something else then?
I almost did.
We're almost like a charity. If you're not feeling great about your FPL position, if you're feeling a bit down about your footballing knowledge, if you feel like you aren't quite getting where you want to be, just join our league.
Yeah.
Finish above James. You'll feel much better.
At least you'll beat James. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I just want to give a shout out actually to one of our listeners, Philip.
Hello, Philip.
Hello, Philip.
He's actually our German guru, so he gives us our German information.
Oh yeah, those insights he's given us on those previous episodes. We've compared the Premier League to the German League and things.
Yeah, exactly. It's also probably a good time to mention to him that his beloved Borussia Dortmund lost again today, so they're actually closer to bottom place than they are to top. Just to quickly remind you, Philip, I just don't want you to think that we're ignoring Borussia Dortmund.
Well, there's another fan we've lost. Right, so thanks everyone for listening, as always. If you could follow us, it helps us out a heck of a lot. And it just remains for me to say, it's goodbye from me.
It's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me.